Welcome to Turn a Page, the official comic book club for Nerd Initiative. Each week, the NI Bullpen will be covering the world of comics, talking to creators, deep diving into some fantastic stories, and much more. Now let's hand it over to the team and turn a page.
Welcome to a very special edition of Turn a Page, the official comic book club for Nerd Initiative. My name is Ken M. You know me as the host of the ODPH podcast. I'm also Nerd Initiative editor-in-chief. To my right, your left at home, don't adjust your dial, but it is in his own contract. He has to do his own intro.
Coming at you live and direct for the 100th time, straight from the ODPH studios. My name's Off the Cuff Tom, Nerd Initiative's pop culture connoisseur. Ken, Matt, and everybody we've met along the way. Always a pleasure.
Indeed, because as Tom alluded to, this is the 100th edition of Turn a Page, and we couldn't think of a better guest to bring back on. One of our favorites here, and one that is absolutely crushing the comic world right now, with a book at Marvel that's making some noise, one that's coming to DC in a couple weeks that is really going to make a lot of noise, and of course, if we're interviewing this gentleman, you know we're talking about comics' most exciting universe, and that is the Massiverse. So without any further ado, you know his work from Self-Made and the Singularity at Image Comics, which, by the way, more people got to be talking about. That book is absolutely mind-blowing. Mighty Morphin from Boom Studios, Giant Silver Surfer, What If, and Ultraman and versus Avengers at Marvel. My God, he's doing so much. But the things that we know him best for, obviously, is Spider-Verse versus Venomverse at Marvel. Immortal Legend Batman's coming soon from DC Comics. And of course, if you're talking about the Massiverse, it's the book that's got everybody going. Inferno Ignite, yeah, like it's LA Knight from the WWE. And that is Inferno Girl Red, one of the most anticipated Kickstarters of 2025. Book 2 is going to be dropping. It is our honor and privilege to bring back the one and only Matt Groom to Turn a Page. Matt, what is going on?
Every time you do an intro like that, I feel bad because there's just no way I can like return that energy and the oratory skill. But I will say I am so grateful and honored to be here for episode number 100. Like that's huge. That's a big honor. So thank you so much.
Oh, it's our absolute pleasure to bring you back. Like I say, you've been absolutely crushing it this year with, like we say, one book that's out right now, one that is shortly coming, and then one that is getting released on Kickstarter later this year, or we'll get an update about that. So let's start off with what's going on right now, and that is what you're doing over at Marvel Comics in the Spider-Verse, or should I say the Spider-Verse versus Venomverse.
Venomverse.
So how did this whole story come about?
Well, I mean, really, it was Jordan, who's the editor for the Venom office, came to Kyle and I and was like, hey, Spider-Verse versus Venomverse, interested? And we're like, sure, I guess we'll try to see if we have a take on that.
Yeah.
And then we chatted about it and we're like, yeah, all right, we think we got something, and we're off to the races. Sometimes it's that boringly straightforward, but basically what we pitched with a few small differences, like very small differences, is exactly what is coming out. And we're now more than halfway through. We've got issue 4 coming out in a couple of weeks, and then issue 5, and then we'll be over and done with. So yeah, it's happened. Well, I was going to say it happened fast, but I guess it's been a year now since we've started working on it. But
wow.
Yeah, it's been quite an experience.
And just to put this in also, Nerd Initiative has been your favorite reviews, considering we do it from the 2 different aspects, right?
It certainly has. And definitely my the most entertaining reviews. Definitely. I honestly, every month, make sure I check them out. And I recommend everyone else does too.
We appreciate that.
So much fun.
So with everything going on, considering, you guys were approached for Spider-Verse versus Venomverse and all the different, stories that we've gotten out of Spiders and Venoms, whether it's, the Spider-Verse, Spider-Verse 2, King in Black, even different iterations in the cartoons with Ultimate and so on. What's the biggest thing that you guys wanted to add to make it, your mark on these 2 beloved fandoms?
That's an interesting question. I think that what we wanted to explore was, I think if you're doing a crossover book, which to my mind, this is exactly what it is, like Ultraman Avengers that we did, the interest to us at least, and I think for most people, is in the contrast. Like when you put these 2 things right next to each other, what are the similarities and what are the differences? And the fun of it for me is digging into that. Like, in what way are these 2 groups more similar than they might think, and where are the points of divergence, and what is the conflict that comes from that? And I, as part of this, did a whole bunch of rereading. I got my Marvel Unlimited app open and just spent like a week on the couch and read so much stuff. And a lot of that was catching up on Venom because I was just way behind. I'd read a little bit of the Donnie stuff, but not all of it. And ended up going, all through Donnie and then right up to what was then the current stuff, as well as also doing all of the Spider-Verse books and things like that. And I found found myself to have a real affinity for Venom that I didn't necessarily know that I had in the past. And the idea of Venom being a symbiote, like being a multiple themselves, was such a fascinating idea to me, especially when that idea kind of bubbles out once Null gets involved and you understand there's this connection between all of the symbiotes. And I think Al Ewing and Ram like really explored that as well. Like this idea that it is just one big community, and that you kind of see that on the other side as well with the Spider-Verse. But also Spider-Man is a notoriously like solo character, right?
Yes.
Like, yeah, there is a big cast around him, but he's kind of defined by this, like habit or sort of inner nature to be like, no, it's my responsibility alone. In fact, I will cut other people off because I believe that I have to shoulder this burden by myself. Whereas Venom is not like that. Venom is, Eddie is someone who accepted the help basically when the help came. And I think that's a very interesting difference between Peter and Eddie. And that was an idea I was very excited to explore as the series went on.
Yeah, because I mean, that's one thing with Spider-Man too. He's such a complex character, but Venom is too, because everybody just says, oh, he's a symbiote and it just feeds off Peter or whoever the host is. But there's so much more going on with that. And then especially with how now it's spawned into the multiverses and dealing with the different incarnations as you're dealing with, and especially having, the Spider-Verse versus the Venomverse, only one side can win. What challenges have you found using the well-known spiders or symbiotes, like as you've gone together? Like, has there ever been like a challenge of like you want to take a version of Spider-Man, do something with it, but it really couldn't mesh with what your story was going with?
I don't think so, because we were very careful about the characters that we chose. It was like very deliberate in the character dynamics and the flexibility that we'd have as well. So there was never any point where we're like, oh, we want to do a thing that we can't do, basically, because we made sure to set ourselves up to be able to have the flexibility that we wanted. And to me, like with a book like this, the fun of so much of it is picking a weird cast, even down to like, I love Spider-Gwen, right? Like she's great, but like has done a bunch of these crossovers now, and also is a bit of a complex one for this purpose because at the time she was also a symbiote as well as being a spider, and that introduced some complications. So we were like, well, we just don't have to have Gwen then, right? Like, let's take that opportunity to do something else. And like with Miles, it's like, I love Miles as a character, but like I wanted to explore something different. So came up with this idea of this other Miles who didn't have Peter's guidance at any point. And in fact, didn't have any guidance at all from any other superheroes except for his Uncle Aaron, who he then loses in a kind of like dark twist of the Uncle Ben story. And
so
that
we can definitely put the crowbar separation between the movie version of Spider Prowler and the comic version of Spider Prowler.
Definitely. Totally different characters. Yeah. I understand why there's like, they spawn from similar genesis points, I suppose, but totally different characters. And yeah, that was just like the exciting part of all this for me. It's like, let's pick characters that we feel like we have something to say about and have the flexibility to kind of do what we want with. And then there's characters like, in doing that big rereading that I did, the Anne Wang version of Agent Venom, going through everything that she's gone through, these crossovers, like has just suffered in a way that like very, very, very few characters have suffered, and also just like lost, right? Like most protagonists of comics, will go through their trials and tribulations, but then come out with some sort of victory on the other side. But Anne recently has just been like eating it, like just having the worst time imaginable, to the point where like her son died, and then all of these other symbiotes that she was leading into battle just were wiped out, and she just got like a total L. Like everything went as bad as could possibly go, and then she'll thrown into this new event. And that's a fascinating place to take a character from. So yeah, nothing. I guess that's the long way of saying nothing that we wanted to do that we couldn't do. I don't think.
Well, that's a great thing too, because especially when you're dealing with a franchise character like Spider-Man, and even Venom's up there now too. It's always kind of an interesting idea, like how far can you take it that's different from the version everybody knows and loves. But that's the one thing about doing stories like this is you get a lot of creativity and freedom to really kind of push the boundaries and see where it goes.
Now,
absolutely.
Speaking of freedom, you and I have a conversation we need to finish up here. Okay.
Oh boy.
Mm-hmm.
Our certain friend, Mr. Trenchcoat. Okay. Now, knowing that Toei was extremely protective of, Yamashiro, what extra steps did you have to go through to introduce his Venom and his, Leopardon's rival Mecha? And now on that, just, with that, are these new Venom and Mecha going to be Marvel shared with Toei, or are they going to be a Toei exclusive kind of thing? I know there's got to be some red tape there. If you don't know, that's fine. But, how was it having to pitch this particular Toku Venom?
I can say that, like, what extra steps for myself and Kyle were required? Nothing. This was in the pitch, and the pitch got approved, and then we wrote the scripts. What happened on Marvel's side to like make that happen? I have no idea. I was fully expecting if not a total no, then a listen, we're gonna have to dial some of this back. Nothing. 100%.
Even with the costume redesign, I mean, which again didn't see that coming too.
Nope, 100%. That was one of those things where part of it is, Takuya's costume looks so much like Peter's costume, right? Like you have the bracelet and the eyes are like a little different, but they're very, and as soon as you put it through an artist's lens, they start to look even more similar. And I wanted to sort of push that apart a bit, but it's also like, we're doing a big event. Let's do a temporary fun thing. But again, as far as I heard, nothing. And I thought getting away with what we did in issue 3 was big. In the first 4 pages of issue 4, you'll see that we are very much diving into that Spider-Man series featuring Takuya and inserting ourselves, you're going to get more context on Yuleo and his whole deal and how he integrates into that mythos. And I was definitely expecting them to be you can't do that. That's their story, Not that we're changing anything, to be clear. There's no changes to that mythos. We're just kind of building some extra stuff in, and no pushback whatsoever. So I don't know if they're just kind of squared away with Toei, or there was some conversations that we weren't privy to, but it was seamless on our end.
We're just going to say it was all good all around, and I'm just going to be real happy and just have a big old shading grin for the rest of the interview. Okay, thank you.
Fantastic.
That works too. And especially you'd have that grin anyway. If anybody has not picked up this series, you really need to go check it out. It's been such a fun trip to watch. And I know it's getting near the end of the current series. So without spoiling anything, is there plan to dive back into this universe down the road? Or if the opportunity arises, do you and Kyle and the team want to jump back into this?
Yeah, I mean, we're always open to conversations about stuff. There's nothing locked in at this stage. There's certainly I'm a big believer in planting seeds all the time, right? Whether that's for us down the track or just to put some stuff in the dirt that, someone who comes down the line might find some use for later. I think that's just when you're working with, Marvel or DC, I think that's just good practice. In the same way that reading all the Venom stuff, for the first time for me, I just saw so many seeds in the ground that I'm oh, thank you. That's great. Let me just kind of and I always want to be doing that for anyone else. So certainly by the end of the series, anyone with even a minor imagination could see stuff that's oh, okay, that could be more. But, we haven't been approached about anything at this stage. I'm not sure if there's an appetite for that or not. And, if we were to do more, it's always a conversation about, is there something we're excited by? Do we have a take? Would it be meaningful for us? If yes, then let's go. But who knows
Okay,
at this
so you
point.
worked around what my next question is going to be, so I'm going to have to reword this nicely. So because we have the seeds there. So
Mhm.
out of the characters that you currently have and or will be having in the rest of the books, outside of them, would you like to do any other Spider or Venom stories?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that I guess as I was kind of alluding to before, I found myself coming out of this with a real affinity for Venom.
Mhm.
I just the idea of them as a collective construct is very interesting to me
I don't know,
in
what
a
do you-
very like kind of like Moon Knight way, and obviously that's a different situation
Hmm.
because the communication isn't necessarily as clear between the parts for Moon Knight, but yeah, that's a character that I feel like I could really sink my big green goo dripping off teeth into, but yeah, we'll see if anything like that arises.
Ooh, could you imagine Matt doing Maximum Carnage or Separation Anxiety too?
Yeah, we need to put this out in the world. I now see this book. I'm just saying it right now. I'm visualizing it.
Manifesting.
If you're watching this on YouTube and I have this blank stare on, yes, because I'm visualizing I need this book right now. And going into, obviously, you learned a lot about Venom with this. Obviously, Spider-Man has a very well-known rogues gallery. Is he now your number one favorite rogue of all time, or who is your number one rogue for Spider-Man?
Oh, that's an excellent question.
And don't say the
It's
obvious.
interesting because especially now, I don't see Venom as a rogue for Spider-Man at all.
Hmm.
Like, to my mind, Eddie is a hero, and he's a hero that, may not conform to the expectations of everyone in terms of how he goes about it. But there's no question in my mind that, especially now, Eddie has good intentions and has grown so much for being able to accept help. Like, I think, like, in some ways, there's a very fascinating and powerfully salient and timely idea in Venom of a, a man suffering from the weight of toxic masculinity and blaming others for his self-loathing, but then opening up to help and growing and maturing through that process. So yeah, Eddie is a complicated and troubled guy, but not a bad guy in my book. I don't know that I have a really definitive take on who's my favorite Spider-Man villain now. I think that Kingpin is always so interesting, and obviously Kingpin being kind of a split Spider-Man Daredevil villain, but I think like Kingpin feels like such a powerful foil for Spider-Man because I do really like friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, like the guy on the street who's just doing the small stuff he can on a small scale to help people in the hopes that paying it forward will have bigger ramifications over time. Like this idea that the small little things that you give to other people incrementally improve their lives, makes them more able to improve other people's lives. And then Kingpin is like the ultimate foil for that because he is the system, right? He's the guy trying to oppress the little people and ensure that the deck is stacked enough that no matter how many small little steps the good people take, it'll never outweigh the weight of the system trying to keep them down. So like I think from that perspective, they're kind of the perfect foils for each other. And like, obviously Norman's great, but like my concern with Norman is that the mental illness aspect of Norman is very tricky territory to tread carefully, especially now knowing what we do about like mental illness, right? Like, whereas like with Kingpin, there's nothing accidental about his actions, right? It's all intent, and he justifies it to himself, but he is a very willing, active, and natural foil for Spider-Man. I really like that.
No, I mean, that's great too. Like I say, that's the one thing with Spider-Man. Like you have so many different rogues and they all have a different impact on a different level for him. Like I say, Kingpin's so
Absolutely.
street level. And then you think about, I mean, Doctor Doom is one, two for him.
Yeah.
And that's on a whole different landscape. And then Doc Ock, who, I mean, obviously, if you start factoring in all the superior Spider-Man stuff, that's a whole weird dynamic as well, too. Like it's one of the great things about when you can dabble with Spider-Man and really kind of go into his own psyche a little bit and see where it matches up best. Like that's where you get the really best Spider-Man stories. And that's the one thing we're getting out of this too, because even though it's just the relationship with him and Venom, and like you touched upon too, Eddie Brock has been one of the most fascinating characters to watch in Marvel for his evolution, because for being the guy that was just so bitter and angry towards Spider-Man for everything that happened to now where you talk about like he has one of probably the most unlikely redemption arcs
Yeah.
of a character. Just to see how that all plays out. Like that's one thing that just makes it fascinating. So as we're seeing them kind of go back into that, I hate using the word, but it's frenemy territory. Like it's just something fascinating to see. And that's one thing that I think really shines in this series because you're seeing all sides of the spectrum there.
And the fact that we did get a new Eddie that's kind of, running the team over there. So it definitely gave, in my opinion, you guys a nice blank slate to work off of that you didn't have to carry all the baggage into it. You said, okay, this is our Eddie. Here you go. Deal with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I also feel like Eddie has only increasingly over time become a more interesting direct foil for Pete because of his increased connection to responsibility. Like obviously responsibility is like, very core to Spider-Man, but as Eddie has grown, he's willingly taken on more responsibility. And I think like as you saw with like Al and Ram's arc with Venom, the idea of him becoming the King in Black and putting himself in a position of responsibility for all of the symbiotes in the galaxy, that's a level of responsibility that I feel like even Pete would never take on. So he's kind of in some ways like out responsibilityed Pete. And then the idea of this new Venom that we're playing with is like, what if that Venom who's gone through basically that same like amount of experiences has the added weight of responsibility of replacing Spider-Man because he killed Spider-Man and feels horrible about it. And that responsibility is weighing on him as well. Like, what does that do to Eddie Brock? So yeah, I feel like, as I said, only increasingly a really powerful mirror for Pete as time goes on.
You've upped the Spider-Man-ness in the Venomness.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yes. Perfect.
Quote me on that. Thank you.
Yeah.
But it definitely works for the series. Like I say, you have so many fresh takes on all the different, sides of Peter Parker and Eddie Brock and everything comes with it. Like we can't recommend this series enough. And it's just been one that's so much fun to dive into and really see where it's going to go. And hopefully we get some more of it. And then as we talk about the great rogues and we talk about great heroes and complexity, you do have another series that's coming out from a distinguished competitor from them, as we say, with Immortal Legend Batman. So first and foremost, how does it feel creating a brand new look for the Dark Knight?
Awesome, super cool. And this book is a wild experience. In part because it was something that we pitched to DC, like I think 4 years ago now, and it got approved, and we were off to the races with Dan doing the art. And then all of the editors that we were working with got laid off in that huge round of DC layoffs. And then suddenly we had no contacts at DC and the book was dead. So we were like, I was jazzed and ready to go for this book years ago. And then had made my peace with like, it's gone, it's never coming back. And then Matt Levine, awesome man, who worked as an editor with Kyle on the Rangers books, ended up at DC and reached out to us as like, hey guys, you have any pitches? And we're like, well, we have a pitch that is ready to go because it was at DC years ago and here it is. And he looked at it, he's like, yeah, absolutely. And of course at that point Dan wasn't available anymore because thankfully the universe has realized he's the most talented man in the world. And he's booked out from here until 2040. So we had to reach out to Dan and be like, hey, is it okay if we use this design, even though you won't be able to be the artist on the book? And he's like, number one, yes. Number two, I'm going to do covers. I'm going to do designs for extra characters. And I'm going to do backup pages. And we said to Dan, like, hey, man, they're not going to let you do that. You're way too busy. Like, we're all about it. We want you to do it, but they're not going to let you do it. You're too busy. And he looked at us. He's like, I'm going to do it. And he's doing it. I don't know how. Like, if you've seen the credits that Dan, like how many books Dan is on right now?
Dan Mora is on so much. Yeah.
So much. And the pages are incredible.
Yes.
Like, there's no drop in quality. Like, he is somehow doing all of these books fantastically well. So yeah, that it feels great because I thought it was never going to happen. Now it's reborn and I get to do it with my INFERNO GIRL RED team, which is incredible. And it also feels incredible because honestly, it feels like an image book. Like we've been given so much creative latitude. We've been given extra pages every issue to make it feel like a huge like event. And we're being given a level of freedom that is unbelievable, to the extent that, like, I'm sure you guys know, Kyle has a bit of a reputation for doing kind of bold out of the box stuff. And for
Kyle?
issue 3, yeah, I know, right? For issue 3 of the book, we said to Matt Levine, like, hey, we've got a bit of a wild idea. I'm not sure anyone's ever done anything quite like this, but could we do this? Fully expecting him to be like, guys, come on, it's a big 2 book. We need to be a little sensible here. And he was like, nah, go for it. Let's do it. Let's take a big swing. So yeah, it feels good. I'm so excited about this book, guys.
Was it, kind of like bringing the Megazord back together with all the, the Infernal Girl team and the Ranger team? Like, what was that like for you to really just bring all the pieces back in?
Oh, it felt so good.
And on top of that, how did the concept come about? Because, I mean, having that particular team and group around, like, did we say, oh, we're pushing it a little too far here, we're pushing it a little over there? I mean,
well, when we as I said, we knew we couldn't get Dan because Dan was too busy to do the whole book. So we're having a conversation with Matt Levine about possible artists. And Kyle and I knew that Erica just needed a bit of a break from INFERNO GIRL RED because she's been going so hard on it for so long. And that was, like, regardless of this project, that was going to happen anyway. We sort of had agreed, I'm going to take a little break. So we knew she was, like, available. So Kyle and I said, like, what about Erica? And Matt Levine immediately went, oh, I'm so glad you suggested it because I thought Erica would be great. And, like, I love her work on INFERNO GIRL RED, but I didn't want to seem like I was trying to steal her from that. So like, no, this is great. Let's do it. So we were all very excited about that. And then as soon as we said that, we're like, well, nobody colors Erica like Igor. Like, Igor and Erica are a very powerful, potent chemical combination that you really don't want to separate. So we'll get Igor in. And at that point, it's like, well, Becca is kind of a very important part of that chemistry too. And I feel very strongly about Becca because I'm very picky about my lettering. Because I feel like, the letter is the voice of the writer. And
yeah.
She's just so good at understanding what I am looking for. And also, she's now Eisner nominated Becca Carey on all those Absolute DC books. So it's not like it was a hard sell to be like, she's great.
Yeah.
So, like, yep, let's bring in Becca as well. And at that point, it's like, well, the whole team's here. And it was, frankly, like, somewhat easy because we're able to point to INFERNO GIRL RED and be like, do you like this? Well, get the people, like, you need everyone if you want something like that. And they were all about it. So, yeah. And it's so exciting too to, like, obviously I love INFERNO GIRL RED, but it is a smaller book because it's a small independent book, and being able to expose all of those individuals individually, but also their collective talents to a Batman scale audience, I hope is going to be very beneficial for all of them in terms of their careers. And I certainly think they all deserve it. So
that's another t-shirt.
Thanks.
Batman scale audience.
Tom is just a marketing genius tonight, folks.
He's on it.
Yes.
Yeah.
But, I fully agree with you. I think once everybody gets this book in their hands, it's going to just boost everybody up around. And obviously with another book coming down the road. But in case anybody's not familiar with what Immortal Legend Batman is going to be, what is the elevator pitch for it to the audience?
So what we're doing is we're taking our love of tokusatsu, which is the Japanese genre of live action material that Power Rangers comes from via Super Sentai and things like Kamen Rider. We're taking that, and then we're taking big sort of like cosmic space opera, and then we're taking like lone gunslinger western, and we're mixing all those elements together, and then we're throwing in everything that's great about Batman, and then that's the book. So it's set far into the future of humanity. Humanity has expanded to the stars. They live on many, many worlds. But the process of getting there opened up a tear in the universe that let through these monsters called shadows that plague humanity. They're kind of like the price we had to pay for our global expansion. And there are 3 heroes out there that have seemingly existed for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years that fight back these shadows on humanity's behalf. The immortal legends Batman, Robin, and Nightwing. They are 3 co-equal partners, a team that works together to protect us. And they've been doing that for, all of this time. But now the immortal legend Batman seems to have abandoned his duty. He's abandoned Robin and Nightwing to go off on this other quest of his own that no one really understands. And that's where we pick up our story.
Sold.
Yeah, take my money.
Yes.
Yeah, I was already sold at the announcement, but now I'm just like, how many
Sold
companies?
when you said Dan Moore.
Yeah.
You didn't have to say anything
Yeah,
else.
totally. Yeah.
No, I was sold the minute I saw the creative team, Dan Mora covers. I mean, like this is nothing but a big bucket of win. Like you can't if you're a comic fan right now, there's no possible reason you should not be picking this up for issue one. Like there really isn't.
No.
I'm sorry. I'm putting that out in there, and especially like for you as a writer on this, and now you're dealing because this is under the Elseworlds brand at DC.
Yes, that's right.
You know, so I would say, is it more challenging or less challenging? Because this is a debut with an iconic character. Is that more of a challenge, would you say, for you as a writer for your debut? Because everybody's like, first impressions make everything. Your first Batman story is this.
Mhm. Well, interestingly, technically, not my first time writing Batman, believe it or not. I had a short story many years ago in a Valentine's Day anthology that was a Slam Bradley story, and it had like 1.2 pages of Batman. So
Really?
yeah, with that under my belt, felt I was perfectly equipped and experienced to do this.
Yeah,
I'll
Ken, 1.2 pages.
It's still in the record books. My apologies, everybody. I apologize for the correction there.
No. I loved having the most obscure little details in my bibliography.
Again, another t-shirt.
Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna have a closet full by the time we're done. The honest answer is I weirdly have not been feeling the pressure because both back when we first conceptualized this and pitched it, and now when we're actually making it happen, I have been just so excited about the process and so engaged with it that I haven't even really reckoned with the scale of what we're doing in terms of like my own personal, like, career or reputation or whatever. It's just been like, we're doing an incredibly cool, fun thing that I'm really excited about. And I've just been sort of like heads down in that. The only like little taste I've been getting, I guess, of like, the consequences of all of this has been when I've been like promoting it on social media and seeing every single thing just like blow up, which is, of course, hugely, it's like Dan drawing a sick Batman that he designed. Like that by itself is just a very powerful, element. It's actually been very valuable as well because there's a lot of the book that we haven't been able to talk about, because there are some big reveals in issue 1 about the nature of what we're doing. Like people who have been watching us promote the book may have noticed that we've never said explicitly who's in the helmet, for example, and we haven't talked really at all about any specific villains. And there are big reasons for those that, you'll understand a little bit more of once you've read issue 1.
But yeah, that's what it's called, NDA.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I was a little worried that we'd have trouble pitching the book because we had to keep so much secret. But of course, the truth is you just put some sick Dan Mora art out there and you're kind of done, which has really helped us out.
Look over here, we're doing this. Look over here, we're doing this.
100%. It feels like the greatest magic trick of like, we've been able to build this very interesting story. And to my mind, I think it really delves into the nature of Batman in a way that I don't really think has been done before. And we've been able to keep most of that under wraps because Dan's art and the designs are so sick. That's really done all the heavy lifting for us.
I mean, I can't disagree with that. I mean, anybody that's seen the artwork for this, it is mind blowing. It is just,
look at here, we're doing this. Look at here, we're doing this.
But honestly, like you see that first image on the cover, you're just like, what is this? Like I say, when I saw the stuff coming from C2E2 this year, I was like, what?
Oh, tell them about what happened when you dropped it in our chat.
Yeah, our entire chat at Nerd Initiative, our comics team absolutely blew up, and there was about a 30-minute thread.
Yeah, more or less. I mean, I was working, and I think I was still one of the first ones. Went, no, fine, dear, dibs.
Oh yeah, no, everyone's like, I'm sorry, I'm pulling my editor-in-chief rank. I'm taking care of this one, folks.
And we all went, thanks, Dad.
Yeah, but still, but everybody, I can fully imagine our bullpen is going to be raving about this, and rightfully so. I mean, this one, just on the offset, looks amazing. Obviously, knowing the creative team behind it, that's another thing too. Especially, we scream Massiverse here all the time. Knowing the team from Inferno Girl Red is behind this, I mean, this is a can't fail book, folks. I'm sorry. This is
No,
just
it's the perfect way
He's
to.
hoping. Yeah.
No, it's not hoping.
there's
It's
no
doing.
hope. Yeah, there's
It's all there. It's literally going to be its own immortal legend.
see what he did there.
From your mouth to the publishing god's ears, my friend.
Hopefully. Now, we've been reading your stuff for a long time now, and I know you and I both have a very similar background in what's, some of our favorite heroes and whatnot. So as a writer, is it more or less, challenging when you're, writing, and what's the biggest appeal that comes, in writing tokusatsu style stories?
I'll answer the second part first. The biggest appeal for me is the inherent nature of tokusatsu, where you can deal with the most emotionally dense, serious, weighty subject matter and have that be represented in the most wild, zany, fun, creative ways. And those things not only sit together, complement each other. Like, yeah, I have talked about this a bit before, but I always think about Kamen Rider Build, which is a Kamen Rider show about how when you get yourself involved in war, no matter how pure your intentions or how matter good the cause, no matter how careful you try to be, you irreversibly darken your soul.
Grease.
And you have to bear the weight of 100%. You have to bear the weight of that until your dying days.
Mm-hmm.
It's also a show where the main character becomes the combination of a rose and a helicopter. And
True.
Those two things are the same in their minds. There's no contradiction, right? Like this wildly, like some would say, silly level of creativity and the like deeply earnest, meaningful subject matter empower each other. Yep. And I love that about tokusatsu. And I think that's definitely something we're aiming to do with this book, which is like,
now, I'm going to flip around and say Kamen Rider owes with having to deal with one's emotions and everything that involved with the greed. But I see exactly where you're coming from with Build as well.
100%. Yeah. So like there's like that I love. I think the like challenge of it as ever is to make sure that you are trying to learn with an open mind and genuine curiosity from another way of storytelling, and not just doing a pastiche and not just doing straight cultural appropriation. Like what I hope that we're doing is in like studying, trying to learn from this genre, is building on new ways of telling stories and then bringing a lot of our own stuff to it and bringing like other genres to it to create something new that's not just like wholesale lifting something else. That's always been my intent. And obviously it's like, it is territory where you have to kind of walk carefully, but I'm always very heartened by knowing that there's this like decade-long history of these cultures learning from each other. Like I always think about like Mr. Tsuburaya, the creator of Ultraman, and Jerry Anderson, who created Thunderbirds. They were learning from each other to the point where like they were like crossing oceans to visit each other to learn about what they were doing each other, like with the miniatures and things like that. Like they were so inspired by each other that they were influencing each other's work. Or even like, we wouldn't have Super Sentai and Power Rangers the way we understand it if it wasn't for Japanese Spider-Man, which first introduced the idea of the giant mecha that then became a staple of Super Sentai. And that came from the Japanese being like, Spider-Man's really cool, but we want to kind of do our own thing with it, right? Like there is this long history of this cultural exchange. And I think as long as you come to it with genuine open mind and a willingness to build rather than just kind of ape or take, hopefully it is a sort of a net positive.
I just got goosebumps. I'm just saying.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, there's a lot to be excited about this. And then, I mean, I can't fault you on that. But going into the Batman story, something to go back a little bit what you were saying about everything that's great about Batman. For you as a writer, what is the biggest appeal about writing Batman?
Oh, I mean, a part of the appeal of Batman for me is just his tremendous flexibility. I think like if not the reason, a huge reason that Spider-Man is the most successful Marvel character and Batman is the most successful DC character is because you could put them in such a radically different context and such radically different types of stories, and they still like, you can do a very silly little cartoon for kids with Spider-Man And you can do the same with Batman, and they could be absolutely great. And you can do very dark or cerebral or street level stories with those characters, and they work just as well because the core is so strong and so flexible. So I think like that makes Batman, obviously, like you see a lot of Batman Elseworlds, right? And I think part of that is just Batman's tremendously popular. Batman's easy to sell a book on, but I think part of it is just Batman lends himself well to that flexibility so much. And I think the other part of it is like Batman is such a relatable character because he is so flawed. Like we love Batman because of how effective he is and how aspirational he is. But, you know, we also never lose sight of the fact that it all comes from pain. It is a real wound that powers everything. And there's like a beautiful tragedy in that, right? That like all of the good of Batman would have never come unless he was so grievously, horrifically wounded in a way that we would never choose to wound anybody. And that's like, yeah, I mean, I feel like if you can't find a story in that, then maybe you shouldn't be writing comics.
Fair points. Fair point.
Yeah. So yeah, listen, we're definitely going to get into all of that, but being able to do that with this like drastically reimagined world and that like creator-owned feeling of freedom to build our own universe and our own history from scratch and really rewrite all of the rules, that feels like such a tremendous privilege. It's like all of the power of Batman without any of the restrictions, which that feels almost unfair to be able to do that, frankly.
I fully agree about that.
Now, since you've been writing now for, you know, if I've now coined the big old two, and also independently with the Massiverse, has your writing style or habits changed based on the brand or by the team you work with?
Oh, interesting. I don't think my inherent style has changed necessarily. I think traditionally there are restrictions when you're working for something that you don't own. Again, I haven't really felt that a lot with Batman, but even when we're doing Ultraman, like we kind of invented our own universe. We're very cognizant of the fact that, like, you know, Ultraman is owned by Super Raya and everything went through approvals with them, and they were great about all of it. And their notes always came from a place of like the ethos of Ultraman. They really respected, but it is still like you're being guided a little bit by somebody else. But I think that what does change is how I work or how I write for different artists. And I feel like that's just responsible collaboration. Like I feel like you kind of just have to try and play to the strengths of your partner, which isn't to say like, you know, you see what they do best. You're like, yeah, let's just do more of that. Like you always want to be pushing them as well. But if you know what they excel at, and especially what they're passionate about,
right,
then you're going to get the best work out of them. And I really do, you know, like we had an artist change halfway through Spider-Verse versus Venomverse, but when I was first starting with Luciano, we had big conversations about just like, what are you excited about? What would you like to draw some more of? Like, how can we work that into the story? Because I think he's such an exceptional artist. So is Jim, who we're working with now, of course. That you just kind of want to give that freedom to the artist and get them excited by the material by offering them an ability to be their best selves. So yeah, I think you should do that. But I think in some ways, like you have a responsibility to some extent to treat big two books like their creator-owned books in your ambition. And then when the limitations or restrictions come in, then you sort of meet them. But you never want to like pre-anticipate them and limit yourself before you know what the boundaries are. Which I understand like the inclination to do, because it saves you a little bit of work, right? If you can write it the way you think they want it the first time, then you don't have to do it a second time. But if you do that too much, you only ever end up boxing yourself into a pen that might not even exist. So yeah, you got to try and take the big swings, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you got the chance to go for it, and especially taking big swings with the big two. We kind of teased this with when we talk on Marvel, but obviously with DC, if the stars aligned, is there a character that you're like, I would love to write? And why? Other than Batman.
That's interesting. Well, the boring but true answer is I'd love to take a crack at Superman. I just feel like Superman just feels like such a vital character now. And I think thankfully the movie both proved that again and made a lot out of that, which is great and validating for Superman fans, I think.
Yes.
And I feel like there's rightfully just a bit more excitement in the air about Superman, as there absolutely should be. I've always had a weird fascination with the question, and I even struggle to articulate it. I think there was just something, especially even just like the original Denny O'Neil stuff. Like,
okay,
Denny O'Neil was out there just kind of like being a very kind of grounded, sort of philosophical that I really jam with, you know? And again, I feel like the question is a really like strangely timely character for now, because questioning everything is both more important than ever and a more dangerous path than ever, right? Because we have more reasons than ever to be suspicious of authority. And certainly with historical context looking back, we have more reasons to understand that we should have been questioning authority more in the past. But there are so many grifters and bad intentioned people who want to take that natural and valid suspicion and warp that for their own intentions, that, you know, the man who questions everything just feels like kind of the man of the moment, right? Like, surely is now not the time of the question, I guess is my is my statement.
No, that works.
See, that's the answer I wasn't looking for, but that's the one I needed.
What were the one you're looking for?
Yeah, what I was gonna say, what was
like?
the one you're looking for?
Honestly, since I know how you do like big cosmic stuff, I was thinking a lantern, preferably a Blue Lantern book, I think would be really interesting in your style.
Interesting.
You know?
I could see that for sure. In some ways, like, my only concern is that
it'd be too easy. Like, here's Kyle, here's Hal, but let's go with a completely different color nobody sees coming.
Yeah, I do worry that like Inferno Girl Red is kind of my Blue Lantern book in some way, right? Like,
that's probably why it's in the back of my head.
Yeah, like Inferno Girl Red is kind of like a, you know, optimism, hope-powered, energy-based superhero. But yeah, maybe the like cosmic nature and backdrop of that would give me some extra wrinkles to it. But I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of possibilities. I could definitely see that too. But yeah, the question, I like the question one.
Yeah.
That now another thing I need to put on the ether because I need to see this book. Yes, we're gonna definitely be throwing that out there too. And obviously with Immortal Legend Batman coming out August 27th, Spider-Verse versus Venomverse is out right now. And obviously we have one book that we cannot overlook coming out via Kickstarter, and that is one Cassie Acosta and the Adventures of Inferno Girl Red Book 2. What is the latest we update concerning the Massiverse pillar?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, for our Kickstarter backers, we have finally gone to print on the book. There was a little delay in production in terms of like actually the creation of the book, but there were far bigger and unforeseen delays in getting the book to print. As I kind of alluded to in my last Kickstarter update, 2025 is a weird year to try and get physical things across US borders, and figuring out how to do that, especially when you sort of like pre-charged everybody years ago, has been difficult. And I'm sure we're not even through the end of the difficulties of that, but ink is being pumped onto paper right now. So the book is done. It's being printed. We're not exactly sure how long fulfillment will take, unfortunately, but we'll keep people in the loop. And then once, you know, we will be aiming, I think, to have single issues of Inferno Red Book 2 hitting retail stores at the end of the year. Okay. I imagine that it will probably bleed over a little into 2026 as well. And then thereafter, we'll get a trade paperback out sometime in 2026, probably, hopefully, like earlier in 2026. But yeah, that's the schedule. Inferno Girl Red has always been a difficult book to produce and to schedule, and certainly has increased my stress levels for that reason. But you know, when you love something, you put in the work. So, and I'm so happy with how book 2 came out. It's interesting. Like, after I was so happy with book 1 that I was getting a little bit of like Sofa for More slump fears with book 2. It's like, oh, how both myself and Erica and Igor and Becca, like, can we all really keep that standard? But I really think we did. I'm very happy with how book 2 came out. And I think there's some big important scenes in it that people will really dig.
Now, speaking of book 2, what can you say is the biggest shift for the characters from 1 to 2 without giving it?
Well, I think Inferno Girl Red Book 1 was very much about Cassia overcoming her doubt and finding a way to believe in herself and believe that she can do this thing. And then book 2 is about the other side of the coin. So when I was like kind of pitching Inferno Girl Red originally, I was talking about how it is a book about belief and the power and dangers of belief, and how, you know, it's a very, again, a timely thing, I think, because, you know, with the state of the world at the moment, we put so much pressure on young people. We say, like, you have to change the world for us, basically, despite the fact that the deck is completely stacked against you. And to be able to do that, you have to believe against all odds that you can make a difference. Just like believe almost against the evidence that you can do something meaningful. But the danger of that is as soon as you start believing against evidence and sort of like drawing on that, you really open yourself up to self-delusion, and you really risk losing connection with reality and losing your grounding. So that is what Cassia will be facing in book 2, is now that she has this belief inside of her, what are the pitfalls? How can things go wrong? And how can you sort of protect yourself against that? And she's going to be doing that, having suffered a pretty big loss and big tragedy at the end of book 1, and also having to form new connections with a support network that, you know, hasn't really gelled as a team yet and haven't really figured out their stuff. And a new mentor that has a lot of flaws of her own and doesn't, kind of herself, deliberately didn't take on any proteges because she understood her own flaws, and now left with no choice, is going to have to figure out if she can positively shape a young person or if she's only going to like continue her own mistakes. So those are the sort of big thematic things going on. And then we have, you know, new antagonists, which is always fun, new threats, new looks into the history and world building in Inferno Girl Red, and maybe even a deeper understanding of what this is all about and the big force that is the antagonist at the heart of the book.
I can't wait. Like I say, with you and Erica and Igor and Becca all do, like I say, this is just top level storytelling. And so this is why
Thank you.
we get DM'd all the time about like when is the next Inferno Girl Red book coming out, and everybody is really carrying that energy too, especially when the Kickstarter came out. And this is what, especially with the Massiverse right now, and what everybody's doing, redefining what we know as traditional superhero stories and really modernizing a lot of like the real world concept, so to speak, into it, and really giving just a fresh take on it. That I think that this is what fans are really just excited to see, and they can't wait to get their hands on this when it comes out later this year. Or if you signed up on the Kickstarter, which everybody should have, you know, like I said, we just definitely have to really push that.
I have to go check the episode. Did I do it live while we were on it last time?
You've done that multiple times, so I'm going to say within 100 episodes, I will say
Probably.
That'll be the nice way to put it, Tom. But Matt, let's throw one last question at you, because obviously this year has been the year of crossovers, and one is up, especially with Marvel and DC, Deadpool, Batman. So you had the chance to cross over any two characters from those universes for a story, who would it be and why?
That is an excellent question. Oh, not one
Who
I've
you got,
given
Ken?
any
Who do you
thought
got?
to.
Let the man think. Who do you got?
Oh, who do I have?
Who do you have?
Well, I mean, I want to go for something different.
Oh, I got one.
See, that would be my thing, because like I say, Deadpool, Batman, not on my radar, but I'm excited to see what both teams are going to do for it. So, like for me, I'm a huge Martian Manhunter fan,
Okay.
so I would not mind seeing him cross over. And like I say, I always see him as like such a very key figure in the Justice League. So then I look to someone that's on the Avengers. So I'd say like the Vision. Like it's a very unique dynamic, but I would do something. But I like to do stuff that's kind of different like that.
Okay, I'll throw mine out here. Daredevil, Green Lantern.
Okay.
Oh,
It's got all the both characters have a lot of inner turmoil, and they got to go, deal with it together. Yeah. Throw a little parallax on top of that. Oh yeah. The
I like
parallax
that.
powered hand even.
Oh, there you go.
Mm.
That could be very dangerous.
All right, now we're giving you some ideas.
I'm gonna maybe build off talking about the question before and say that I think I could really jam with a question Iron Fist story. That's a real like pulp noir kind of adventure, like, really street level, but like something goes all the way to the top. And you got the brains and the brawn trying to sort of like uncover the corruption or something. I feel like there's definitely something there that could be very exciting.
Okay. Question the heroes for hire?
Yeah, I mean, or Heroes for Hire question mark at the end? Like it writes itself. But there's so many great stories that are going to be coming on, and especially with Matt helming them too. Like we say, we can't stress enough. Everybody needs to go check out Spider-Verse versus Venomverse. It's fun, it's exciting, and it's just such a very cool concept to see the different sides of Peter Parker and Eddie Brock throughout the multiverse of Marvel, let alone August 27th. Immortal Legend Batman is going to revolutionize what you know about the mythos of the Bat.
Yes.
And then, of course, by year's end, Inferno Ignite, yeah, because we finally get book 2 dropping via Kickstarter, via the shops. Buy multiple copies because that's what you should do for anything that's Matt's name is on it. Matt, we can't thank you enough for coming through for episode 100. We definitely have to talk sooner than later. And obviously, congratulations on all the success for this past year and more.
Thank you so much, guys. It's so good always to chat. It's always a blast. So thank you for having me, and thank you for having me for number 100.
Oh, absolutely. And we'll end it like we always do on Turn a Page. So on behalf of Tom and myself and for everybody here at Nerd Initiative, thank you for watching another edition of Turn a Page, the official comic book club for the home of pop culture positivity. And remember, when you're at the comic shops and you have a great issue in your hand that has Matt Groom's name as the creator on it, because let's face it, everything he does is amazing. And you see somebody struggling to find something, hand him a copy. Tell him to turn a page. We'll see you next time.
I'm out.
It's such waste of time swiping left and swiping right on people you could know. 'Cause anyone who's worth a damn be worth way more than a picture could ever show. You could find the right light, find the right angle, and never find your soul. And it can feel like a losing battle, and this plot is full of holes. This modern way of finding love just makes me feel so alone. And I can't be the only one sick of staring at my phone. So look up, talk to me, a better way to spend our energy. Just look up, talk to me. We don't have to float alone on the open sea. Don't know that I believe in the old time fable. Everyone has just one true love. All I know is you're across this table, and you're all I'm thinking of. So look up, talk to me, a better way to spend our energy. Just look up, talk to me. We don't have to float alone on the open sea. Talk to me. Talk to me. It's such waste of time swiping left and swiping right on people you could know.